Alright, hey guys, this is Murderous CCG back in the video. This is going to be going over the new Rika archetype, so we're going to get started here. Here we have Rika no Maracube. Its effective here is that you can only special summon with the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn as well. And then you can special summon this card from your hand by sending one insect, plant, or reptile monster from your hand to the grave. So pretty free on how you're able to summon this out. And let's see what effect is going to trigger once you do this. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add up to 2 of your Rika monsters with different names that are banished and or in your deck to your hand, except for this card. Then banish 1 Rika card from your hand. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, except for insect, plant, and reptile monsters. So that means that most likely this archetype is just going to be focused on insect, plant, and reptiles, and being able to get 2 searches and potentially a banish that might trigger an effect is really good. If there is an effect there that triggers or resonates with the banishment, then that's not as great, but I'm sure there's going to be something, since even this card upon summon is able to add 2 different Rika cards with different names that are banished. So I think it's definitely going to be there. And here we have Rika no Yahazu Kamakiri. This is a light insect effect monster. Looks pretty cool. Looks like a grasshopper to me. That's a samurai or something. You can only special summon with the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn as well. You can special summon this card for your hand by placing one of your banished insect, plant, or reptile monsters on the bottom of the deck. So you can see, kind of seeing how that resonates, or how that correlates with the other monster here, being able to banish cards and then use them to special summon another monster like this. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for the link summon of a Rika monster, you can target 1 level 4 or lower insect, plant, or reptile monster in your graveyard and special summon in defense position. So not only are you going to be able to link this away to get a potentially stronger monster out, but then you can also target a monster that is in your grave, get it out, and potentially link climb using it. So overall, a really solid monster here. And here we have Rika no Yori Tokage, and it's a dark reptile effect monster. You can special summon this card from your hand by banishing 1 insect, plant, or reptile monster from your graveyard. So again, the banishment we're seeing there to get it out. So far, it's not really necessary to normal summon anything. There's a lot of ways to special summoning out, which is really good. And then you can discard 1 insect, plant, or reptile monster, then target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, and return it to the hand. So being able to discard something there in order to, bounce something, pretty easy. It's not a boss monster or anything. So it's nice. If you get this out, you're going to force your opponent to have to activate something in order to deal with this right away. And that's really good since you're not even using a normal summon to do this. The only thing is that you are going to be discarding a card, but then you can potentially be using it later on, potentially banishing it in order to trigger an effect or something. And here we have a Link 2. So we're going to look at these monsters here. It's a fire plant Link monster. So that's pretty uncommon. We do obviously have Lone Fire. This is seeing another fire plant monster is always cool to see. And this is Rika no Musha Dekuro. So 2 monsters including an insect, plant, or reptile monster. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. Also, you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate them, except for insects, plants, and reptile monsters. So of course, locking you into those monster types, but not specifically into the archetype. So that's always good, just because you can run the generic support that comes with those archetypes. And then you can target 1 Rika monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position. So of course, this is really good for getting out Link 4, because as we saw, we're going to be able to use Rika Tokage here. If it's used for or not this guy, we're going to be using this samurai here. If it's used as a link summon of a Rika monster, you can target a level 4 lower insect monster, get it out, and then use this guy here in order to target another monster, get it out, and we can easily go into Link 4. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 insect, plant, or reptile monster you control, place it on the bottom of the deck, and if you do a special summon this card, so very easy to get it out once again, and then potentially use this effect to bring something out in a different turn. And now here we have a really cool Link 3. I'm liking the art for this. It looks like some sort of insects with a scythe. Pretty cool looking. So here we have Rika no Uka Minushi, and it's a wind insect link effect monster. You can banish 2 insects, plant, and or reptile monsters from your graveyard and add 1 Rika trap from your deck to your hand. So banishing things in order to search something out. It's always good to see. Of course, there's going to be, you can already see with this archetype that if this archetype happens to get too good, there's always ways to stop your opponent from banishing things. There's always cards that potentially stop you from banishing your own cards. So that's always going to be really annoying for this deck and kind of serve as a barrier if this deck ever gets too powerful. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 insect, plant, or reptile monster you control, place it on the bottom of the deck, and if you do, you can special summon this card. Again, another way of getting it out and then potentially using its effect once again to search something out. And here is the link 4 that we're looking at. So this is going to be the boss monster, assumingly so, unless there's a link. Oh, there is actually a link 5, so I guess it's not going to be the boss monster, but let's get reading here. So it requires 2 monsters, including an insect, plant, or reptile monster. If your opponent activates a monster effect, you can make both players unable to activate monster effects in the hand for the rest of this turn. Blocking your opponent out of using potentially hand traps, that's pretty good, but also, you know, monsters who have effects that activate in their hands, maybe potentially to summon them out, that's going to be annoying for your opponent. And since you're not really going to be using those effects during your opponent's turn in order to summon things out, that's going to be really great just to lock them out. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 insect, plant, or reptile monster you control, place it on the bottom deck, and if you do, summon this card. So again, another easy way of getting this card out. And here is the boss monster, the Link 5 Raika no Diuga. It requires 2+ insect, plant, and or reptile monsters. If a monster is special meant from your opponent's deck and or extra deck, you can destroy 2 monsters on the field. So if a monster is special meant from your opponent's deck and or extra deck, you can destroy 2 monsters on the field. So that's pretty nice. If they're going to get something out, being able to pop something pretty quickly is pretty great. Not only that, it's not a target effect, it's just a clear destruction. Of course, it is a destruction effect, so with that, there's going to be effects that trigger. But besides that, non-target destruction is still pretty nice to get out. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 insect, so it looks like it's just going to be the same thing, just in order to get it out. And you can see with this deck, it's not going to be too hard to get this out. We saw with the Link 2 and the Grasshopper, you're easily able to get your monsters back out, and Link Climb to potentially to 5, and also reviving these monsters is pretty easily. And you saw you don't even really need to use that many resources to get them out to begin with. And here for the spells, we have a continuous spell, Raika Ryoren Kurisaki. So all insect, plant, and reptile monsters on the field gain 300 attack / defense. Also, all other monsters in the field lose 300 attack and defense. So that's nice, a little buff. And then you can add 1 Raika monster from your deck to your hand and discard a card. So that's great, being able to have some searchability, discard something, doesn't bother you too much. Special summon 1 of your Raika monsters that is banished or in your graveyard in defense position. So again, this deck this card just works really well with the archetype here. It's bringing you value. The cards you're banished, you can be able to get them out, or something in your grave, for instance, being able to get it out after discarding it in order to search out a Raika monster. That's solid, always good to see. Or getting it out from your hand. Just a lot of ways of getting these monsters out. And of course, you saw their effects. There's a lot of effects that you can use to summon them out from your hand anyways, so you don't really have to worry about that. And here's our final card. This is Raika Dairen Kubikarami. So this is a normal trap card. Target cards your opponent control up to the number of insect, plant, and reptile link monsters you control with different types. Destroy them. So potentially 3 pops that you can get out here. And if a face-up insect, plant, and or reptile monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card and target 1 monster your opponent controls, destroy it. That's going to be a little annoying for your opponent. If they happen to get rid of something, you're going to be able to pop something, potentially the card that destroyed it, or whatever card you may deem to be disruptive. So overall, it seems like a pretty solid archetype that's actually trying to give insect, plant, and reptile monsters a chance to be a solid archetype just by using the resources of all the 3 monster types and using everything that works with them in order to potentially create something pretty strong. Let me know what generic cards you guys would try with this archetype and just overall your thoughts about the archetype. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.